Everyone, thanks so much for joining us today for another Smith.ai Master Series. I'm Maddie Martin. I'm the VP of Marketing at Smith.ai. We are a 24/7 virtual receptionist service for calls, chats, texts, and Facebook messages. We do everything from call answering to scheduling, intake, outbound calls, a lot more. So we host these series so that we can bring in business experts for our clients and greater community. And I'm really excited today to have Cara Pryor from James Publishing. She is the president and she's also the founder of the James Marketing Amplifier. We are talking about 10xing your lead flow with custom videos. This topic is so relevant right now when everyone is remote, working virtually, having Zoom consultations. You're setting a sort of framework for getting really comfortable to get to know a brand through video. So those consultations go even better. That's like your primary interaction. You can do business through video and you can get comfortable and do a bit of intake and lead screening through video as well. Great way to get sort of recognized as a brand and get into the hearts and minds of your potential clients. So today we're going to be talking about persuading prospects through video content, coming up with the right range of content, what helps you convert, how do you incorporate testimonials and details on your expertise and practice area, FAQs to answer and anticipate the questions that people may have, and to reduce the noise that's coming through from unqualified leads. So more well-educated potential clients reaching out to you, comfortable already with your presence, with your voice and with your brand, and really hitting the ground running when they finally do have that consultation with you and are interested in moving forward, equipped to do so, and with the mindset sort of prepared to do so. So before we get into the presentation, Cara, could you just introduce yourself and share a little bit about your background and how you came to, present today on the subject of custom videos? Where did your journey lead you to today?
Yeah, I'd love to, Maddie. Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure being with you and sharing a little bit of advice with your audience. So as Maddie said, I'm Cara Pryor. I am the president of James Publishing and founder of our Marketing Amplifier program. So James Publishing, if you're not familiar, we've been a traditional legal book publisher. This is actually our 40th year. So content is really what we hang our hat on here. And our Marketing Amplifier program is essentially taking that content. We have a library of around 100 legal titles, taking that content and really repurposing it, making it consumer facing and branding it for our subscribers. So what that means is, we're really helping attorneys fill some of those common gaps with content and really increase your conversion rate by offering educational lead magnets on your website. Certainly, a branded book is part of the program. So, pretty quickly we realized that video is also, especially as Maddie says, especially in the pandemic, is also a sort of critical way of communicating with your prospects, your clients, even staying in touch with your past clients, and certainly just providing a higher level of customer service, distinguishing yourself in the end. So I've been with James for almost 9 years now. Before that, I was a professional journalist for 10 years. I actually worked at Entrepreneur Magazine, where I was really traveling around the US, interviewing some high-profile startup founders. So I was doing video interviews, actually. So it's interesting, a little bit of a 360 moment for me, where video 10 years ago or more, was a bit of a novelty. Everyone wasn't doing it. Now it is really a critical piece of your marketing puzzle. And today I'm going to really show you some ways of continually creating fresh content that will really help kind of remove some of the burden of manual communication.
Awesome. Yeah, go ahead and share your screen.
Great. I'll do that now. Okay. You can see it okay, Maddie? Good?
It looks great. And for everyone who, you're watching this, you have questions, just chime in to the chat, write a comment. We'd love to keep track of those, and we will get back to you within this video, or we'll comment afterwards.
Exactly. Absolutely. Okay. So, as I mentioned, I really do talk to dozens of attorneys every week about kind of the best way to improve their marketing results. And one of the most common questions I get over and over again is, how can I distinguish myself from the competition? Right. So, I mean, if you think about it, most of your prospective clients, they really can't see much difference, right, between the lawyers that they're considering hiring. Typically, all law firm websites sort of look the same. So the solution is really to let your prospective clients sort of meet you on your website, learn about you, learn about your approach, who you are as an attorney, who you are as a person, and see how you've handled similar cases in the past. And this requires video. So the best way to stand out really is through custom video. It's also a great way to kind of build that trust, familiarity with those prospects. So today, let's talk about how to 10x. Sorry, I lost the connection there. Sorry, how to 10x your lead flow with custom videos. Okay, so today specifically, what we're going to cover, it's going to be example packed. I want to show you lots of video examples so that you can really get that inspiration, but I'll show you how to use custom videos to tell the stories of your past cases. We'll talk about why it's important to kind of display varying fact patterns so that your prospects can watch you discuss a legal situation that's very similar to the one that they're experiencing, right? We'll talk about really kind of how to use video to explain what brought you to the law, what brought you to your specialty, why you became an attorney in the first place, kind of your mission, your goals. And then also providing helpful information about a prospect's matter and how that matter will be handled through video. And also, of course, answer common questions. Those questions you get all the time from prospects, all the time from new clients. Video is really such a great way to address those. Not only does it provide value, of course, if you're the one answering those questions, then you're really the attorney that they begin to trust, and you're the one that stands out. But it also takes a lot of the burden off your plate. You don't have to repeatedly answer those questions that you get over and over again. And then at the end, I'll talk briefly about easy ways to promote these videos once you've created them, right? So producing the videos, of course, that's most of the battle, but we need to get some eyeballs on these videos if they're going to be really effective. So just a quick heads up before we dive in, I really am about to show you how to specifically create and promote the best legal videos, but just know if you don't have time or maybe the internal resources to take on this work yourself, it is all included in our Marketing Amplifier program. So I can provide contact info at the end, but just wanted to let you know if it seems like a good idea, but maybe a bit overwhelming, we can always talk about that. And as Maddie said, if you have questions during presentation, feel free to enter those in the chat and we'll get to as many as we can. Okay, so let's go ahead and dive in. So first, like I mentioned, tell the stories of past cases. So what does this mean? So if you're only going to create sort of one category of videos, I really recommend that it be about cases that you've handled in the past. So, I mean, it really persuades prospects that you specifically, not the attorney down the street, but you have the knowledge and the talent and the skill set to handle their specific legal matter. And you show that by presenting past cases or past transactions that are similar to theirs, right? So in this case, I kind of recommend each video should cover just one case and should sort of unfold sort of chronologically. Maybe you don't want it to be too much longer than around 2 to 3 minutes. So 2 to 3 minutes, story told in sort of chronological order. And just think about it, the larger your collection of videos kind of covering a variety of legal matters that you've handled, a variety of fact patterns, the better your odds of sort of matching one with your prospect situation. So that's kind of the goal there. So that means building your collection of past cases or past transactions should be an ongoing effort. I always recommend, like, try to just, ideally, you'll kind of just be adding this into your case close process, right? So, you'll get in the habit of kind of shooting these videos every time a case concludes. And especially if it's a case that, you haven't yet, with a unique fact pattern, right? That you haven't yet added to this past case video library. So I want to show you an example. I said there'll be lots of examples. So here's an example of a past case video that we recently shot with Orange County personal injury attorney Mark Lazarus. I'll play a bit for you. I'll actually just play a few moments for you now, and then we'll talk about it briefly.
At Russell and Lazarus, not only do we handle regular auto accidents and slip and falls, we also handle catastrophic injuries. We had a case where a 60-year-old gentleman was riding his motorcycle with his lovely wife on the back of the motorcycle. The motorcycle lost control and his vehicle ran into a boulder on the side of the road. He suffered.
So you can imagine how compelling this would be to a prospect who specifically was injured in a motorcycle accident, right? You're speaking directly to that prospect. And we recorded this video over Zoom, similar to kind of how Maddie and I are presenting now, which is how, we kind of keep our shoots efficient and affordable, obviously eliminating the travel and hosting an on-site video crew, right? But you could do the same way. I mean, you could record these videos the same way, and I'll get more into that in a moment. But we then supplement the storytelling, so the footage, with slides, stock footage, text callouts. I say this because you don't need to spend tens of thousands of dollars to create effective videos. It's in this sort of a Zoom age, right? This digital age, we've grown so accustomed to our nation's top officials, to our, news reporters really coming to us live from, their homes through Zoom. So it's really such an acceptable form of communication. And it really kind of lowers that barrier of entry. It doesn't need to be high production value, really. Like you could record these on your phone. So don't let that stop you from conveying this important, really critical information.
At Russell,
can I just chime in there for a second? So if you go back to, maybe that pause screen, I think one of the things that I really want everyone to take away here is also the text that is on the screen is really prominent, right? So I think oftentimes we see things and they're not necessarily best practices. You could be on Facebook, you could be on YouTube, and it's going to ask you, do you want to add closed captioning? The answer is actually like, you could, if that's your only option, but the best thing to do is to make it a lot less text, a lot larger, a lot more easily readable. You see there's great contrast here with the white color font in the middle of the screen, not too many words, because a lot of people have shared attention. They're on Facebook, they're on your website while they're doing childcare, making dinner, trying to get other things done. And that helps capture as much of that information in their brain as possible. So it's not just like the content that Kara's, describing. It's also how it's displayed and how it's constructed. You see the brand here on most screens. It's really important that you double down on that attention span so that even if someone can't hear, they can read it. If someone's not reading it and they're even not looking at it, they're hearing it. You want to cover all of your bases there. And I think this is a really good example of that being well done.
That's such a good point, Maddie. And it's so often, I talk to attorneys who they don't know where to start, right? And they worry about, I don't have video editing experience. Like, how would I even add text? I mean, honestly, you could go on a freelance site, right? Like Fiverr or Upwork or something like that, and find, just basic video editing. Really, it's really affordable, and it's a great way to kind of start too. So I just wanted to be clear on that. Good. Okay. So let me continue on. Okay. So Sort of, I would say, common objection that I hear from attorneys is, I have a new practice, or maybe I'm just starting my firm, or it's a new practice and I don't have a lot of past cases to talk about, right? So what am I supposed to shoot these videos about? Well, if you recently opened your law firm, or maybe you're entering a new practice area, which has become, quite common during the pandemic, I suggest use cases in the news or talk about hypotheticals rather than actual past cases. And in other words, if not many of the case types that you want to promote, that you want to focus on, that you want to attract, if not many of those cases have concluded, really consider explaining how you would handle relevant cases discussed in the news, or use commonly occurring hypotheticals. So the key really is to just explain what's likely to unfold with a case type, which kind of matches a fact pattern that you want to attract, or the type of case that you want to handle. So in explaining how you'd handle a case of that type, you demonstrate your expertise in the same way, right? In detailing how the case would unfold, you certainly address probably the biggest question that all prospects have, and that being, what is the likely result of my case, right? Everyone wants to know that. So the more you can help them understand that and what has happened in the past is really, such a great way to convey that. I actually heard, Maddie, of a criminal lawyer who he explains how he would handle charges resulting from videotaped police searches and videotape arrests. So these aren't cases that he's actually handled. It's just video that he has access to, and then he talks about it. So, certainly don't let it hold you back if you don't have many of these past cases. Use those hypotheticals or the cases in the news to then attract, and talk pretty specifically to those prospects.
Right. I've seen a lot of that as well. And that commentary, I see trademark attorneys do it, immigration attorneys. I mean, criminal defense, PI, I'm very late to it, but I'm watching Making a Murderer right now. And I can only imagine how many attorneys have commentary on that. So, it's very interesting to sort of even as a consumer, to get into my mind and say, how do I make an imprint? How do I make an impression? Because when the need does arise, then I'm going to think of that attorney, right? So this is not just for the immediate capture point. Oh, I want to get the immediate conversion. You're talking about lead flow, and that starts at the top of the funnel. It can also start midway through the funnel, but if you don't build up that audience who then come to your website, they might subscribe to your newsletter or your future videos because you now have a good cadence. They want to see your commentary. It's entertaining even better. And when a need does arise, or when someone asks them to sort of expand that network, when someone in their friend or family group, their coworker group, asks them oh, who do you recommend? Do you know any attorneys who do X, Y, or Z? You bet you're going to come up in their mind.
Exactly. And, so often, law firms are so focused on more leads. And often the lowest hanging fruit is really nurturing those qualified leads that you already have sort of in your umbrella, right? And converting more of those, educating, as Maddie says, educating and staying top of mind with those leads. That can certainly be, it can be a gold mine, really. And the way that you're going to do that is you're going to showcase your expertise. You're going to convey your caring. And again, you're not going to be surprised, but video is a great way to do that. So another type of video, so, obviously we covered the past case video, but another sort of great category to cover in video is kind of explain what initially attracted you to the law, why you became an attorney in the first place, right? It's sort of, as I put on the slide, sort of endear yourself to prospects by detailing how you got into your area of practice and your passion for helping clients. That really kind of drops some of those walls and really kind of lets your prospects in to kind of where you're coming from and what drives you every day, really. And your prospects, they want to know that their case will be handled by someone who cares. That's really as simple as it is. So let me show you a sample of that as well. So this is, I'll actually just play a quick example of this. This is a personal injury attorney describing what kind of inspired him to become an attorney. So let me play this now.
What actually got me into the practice of law? It's a very interesting question. I never really thought I was going to be a lawyer until I had one thing in particular happen to me. When I was growing up, my sister Laura, she was 9 and I was 11 at the time. I have 2 older sisters, but my youngest sister ended up getting diagnosed with cancer. And so I grew up with cancer in the household. And when she was 19, she unfortunately passed away. I'm from Indiana. And my parents didn't know what the heck they were doing as far as the estate side of things and handling my sister and what happened. And because of that, I kind of saw attorneys and what they had to do to help out my family. And it really got me interested in the practice of law. And that's how I ended up going to law school. And I thought I would be an estate planning attorney, and I am. But I actually had something else happen.
So that's the first part of it. He practices estate planning and personal injury. So that was, he later in the video goes into kind of what attracted him to the injury side too. But again, I mean, just, you know, a few minutes of watching this, you really get a sense of Andy, you know, Mr. Rosenberg's approach and, you know, where he's coming from. And, you know, certainly it brings that authenticity and that caring.
So, Cara, one thing that I want to add here, because this is often something that is sort of a misconception. When you share a story like that, I think a lot of content producers will share it less frequently than maybe they could. You know, they'll share it once a year, or in just one video, they mention their story and then they don't ever bring it up again. Maybe it's hidden in some about or bio page on their website and they point people there, but it doesn't actually come up often in conversation. And I would just encourage you to share your story more often and repeatedly, because that's also the story that when someone asks for a referral, do you know an attorney who does this? When they give that referral, they might also say, you know, because, you know, and then share a little bit of your story that they've embedded in their mind over repeated exposure. So there is nothing wrong with having that sort of same language used over again and having that story shared over and over again. It may seem tiresome to you sometimes, but it's not necessarily to the viewer. And I think it's really important when creating video to understand, like, well, what is some of the point here? Some of the point is also to really get your brand embedded in their head and for them to feel like they know you. And knowing you is not just knowing the law firm name. Knowing you is knowing a little bit about your story and what you do. And that helps them also make really strong referrals to you, because they may not memorize all of your practice areas, but if they memorize that story, they don't have to, right? Like, that's really easy to recall then what type of law you practice and they're going to recommend to their friends and family.
Absolutely. I think you're spot on, Mandy, specifically with, you know, if even telling the story at all, it's hidden in the, you know, bio page of their website. And it's, you know, really spotlight who you are and, you know, own that and be proud of that. And I really think that truly helps you attract the type of client that you want to help, right? So it's not when you're you know, sort of qualifying your prospects, certainly you need to know if you can help them from a legal standpoint, of course, right? Do they have a case that you're interested in handling? But, you know, also it's a personality fit, right? This is one of the most important decisions of their lives, is choosing who's going to represent them and help them with this legal matter that they likely know little about, that they're likely anxious about, you know, who's going to be there with them every step of the way. And you know, so much of that personality can really be conveyed through video. So good point. Thanks for adding that, Maddie. Okay, let's move on.
What actually got me?
Okay, so, you know, perfect segue into provide helpful information through video, right? So demonstrate your expertise and really explain how a case would unfold, educate your prospect. So whether the situations are past cases, news events, hypotheticals like we talked about, but you know, you address the biggest question that all prospects have, and then what is the likely result in my case. And one thing that is the video is particularly effective in doing is avoiding kind of what I call new client remorse, buyer's remorse. So, not only is it important to display videos to your prospects, but what about establishing that ever so important positive first impression with your new clients? Continuing the educational process through video. Often there can be sort of a communication gap between retention and when that visible work is actually done, or when your new client sees progress on their case, despite the fact that you and your team are certainly hard at work at their case, on their case. If they don't hear about it, if they don't understand the process, if they don't know what to expect, what will be expected of you and your team, and what will be expected of them, unfortunately, they're just going to assume not a lot is happening. And that's when that, unfortunate kind of buyer's remorse can sit in. So why not fill that sort of communication gap with additional, kind of helpful information for your new clients? Again, here's a sample of that. This is the type of video. This one's called Preparing for the Realities of Litigation. So you can imagine how that would be helpful to a new client. Not sure, how the process will unfold. So let me just play a bit of this one for you.
Preparing for the realities of litigation. As a potential litigant, you need to understand the stresses and uncertainties of litigation. Unless you have had prior litigation experience, you may not fully appreciate the resources litigation demands. Money is not the only requirement. You must be prepared to devote time to working on the case. Litigation is often an intense, emotionally draining experience for both client and attorney.
Okay, so as you can see, this is a purely educational, well, they're all purely educational, but this is, you could create this without even, shooting any footage, but it's a really great way to kind of convey a lot of information in sort of a short amount of time. You have to just remember that people ingest information in different ways. So, certainly some of your clients will be fine with reading, several pages. Others, they either just don't have time, or they don't, they would prefer to watch a video. So this is really a great way to kind of provide that helpful information. And I actually just want to give you one more example here, just because this is
common mistake.
If I could get back to it. Okay. So here's one more example. This is, it's common mistakes improving your claim for disability benefits. So let me share this one in case it's more relevant to you.
Common mistakes improving your claim for disability benefits. Mistake number 1, assuming that Social Security has all your medical records. Social Security will make an effort to obtain.
Okay, so you get the idea, right? Very helpful. Again, kind of filling those communication gaps. Okay, so this next category, probably one of the most popular categories, and honestly, one of the probably easiest to start. So answer common questions. Like I mentioned at the top of the presentation, I mean, better than anyone the questions that you get over and over again from prospects and new clients. So really display your knowledge and your willingness to help by offering a collection of frequently asked videos, which really provide helpful information and kind of build on that familiarity and of course build that trust. So these videos address questions that are regularly asked by prospects and new clients. Just take a few minutes and sit down and just list out the questions that you get. Each one of those questions is a new video, and before you know it, you'll actually have a growing, quite comprehensive collection of these super helpful videos. And like past case videos, these kind of FAQ videos demonstrate your expertise, of course, provide helpful info, and build that trust. So prospects who are kind of currently a bit earlier, maybe in the investigation process, and they're not quite ready to select a lawyer, they have many questions, right? Do I have a case? What happens next? Can I handle this situation myself? What might be wrong? What might go wrong if I do handle the case myself? How much is this going to cost? So these are all common questions that you could address pretty quickly in a 1 to 2 minute video. So that's usually think about your prospects and, they're searching for an attorney, right? They're usually searching Google and they want answers to their questions. So they are, they may very well be Googling these questions, right? How much is this going to cost me? So you can attract them as well as kind of display your knowledge and of course your willingness to help by offering a collection of videos which answer common questions. So as I mentioned, I mean, you really know these questions better than anyone, but I like to provide some examples, some inspiration, just to start kind of jumping off points in several different areas of practice, because you think about it. I mean, answering these common prospect questions with videos will allow you won't have to verbally answer the same questions over and over again. As I mentioned, prospects come to you sort of better educated. They know what lies ahead. I mean, an educated client is a much better client. And the prospects that contact you sort of after viewing your educational materials, they're just, they're higher quality, more likely to pay you on time, more likely to refer others, to your firm. So, I mean, I've certainly heard from multiple lawyers that, after they kind of begin offering some of this educational content, they attracted higher quality prospects. And those prospects were better prepared, more willing to kind of follow, your advice and they're more engaged overall. So we actually offer video scripts and slides for many of these prospect questions, but I wanted to give you some examples so that you really have, somewhere to start. So let's just go through these quickly. So you'll see on the slide, bankruptcy. Is my situation bad enough to file bankruptcy? Can bankruptcy save my home? Will bankruptcy harm my career? You can see how those would all be super high value questions to answer. Business litigation, maybe we're talking about when is a party excused from its contractual obligations? What are the common defenses to breach of contract? Or maybe what must I prove to win a breach of contract case? So let's talk about criminal defense. Can you get the evidence against me thrown out? Do I actually need a lawyer if the prosecution offers a standard plea bargain? Or maybe how can I get an arrest or conviction off my record? And just to note too, I know Maddie's going to share these slides and the recording, so don't feel like you need to be furiously jotting down notes. We'll share all this stuff with you. Estate planning. Do I need an attorney to draft my estate plan? What else is needed besides a will? How do I protect my estate plan from a disappointed beneficiary? And then this will be the last of the examples, but if you practice in an area outside of these, just feel free to contact me. I'd love to brainstorm with you. But family law, should I tell my spouse I'm planning a divorce? How can I minimize the harm to my children? Who will get the house, right? Personal injury, how do I pay my medical bills? Maybe how do jurors evaluate auto accident cases? What are some common adjuster negotiating tactics that I should watch out for? And lastly, disability. Am I likely to qualify for benefits? Of course, that's a question that comes up all the time. Can I work part-time while my case is pending? What about what is a hearing like? So start by answering the questions that you hear the most often. Keep your answers direct and as practical as possible. I always suggest use plain English, use plain language, right? So, and try and answer only one question with each video. So one question is one video. You don't want to string a bunch of these together. If a prospect has a specific question, they want to be able to go directly to that video. So whether your answer takes, 30 seconds or a couple minutes, just try and keep one question answer per video. And then, avoid wishy-washy kind of it depends answers. So be as direct as you can. You can always provide kind of ranges where it's difficult to be specific, but be as direct as you can in these responses. And ideally you'll deliver kind of additional information with your accompanying slides in these videos. So instead of kind of just repeating statements that you make verbally, try to add some value to the items, to the pieces that you're adding to the video. Avoid kind of lengthy stretches with only your talking head appearing. Maybe a whiteboard can substitute for slides if you don't, if you're not comfortable creating slides, but try to have that visual element that adds value. It's not just there for show, right? And at the end, be sure to kind of recap the points that you made earlier. Just summarize, boom, boom, boom. Here's what we went over. Let me play this sample, actually. It's a sample of an FAQ video we recently created for a client. So I'll play some of it now.
I'm Jason English, founder of Jason English Law. I'm a former prosecutor who now represents good people who are facing criminal and drunk driving charges. One thing that I'm often asked is, hey, the police didn't read me my rights. What does that mean? We're going to talk about that more today. Police didn't read my rights. Will the charges against me be dismissed? You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can be.
Okay, so that's one example.
I'm Jason English, founder of Jason.
Let me show you another example. Here's another frequently asked question example I want to show you. Just play a few moments of that.
What steps can I take to repair my credit after bankruptcy? After successfully completing a Chapter 7 bankruptcy, a debtor has a clean slate with regard to discharged debts. However, they may find it difficult, if not impossible, to buy a new home.
Okay, so, I think you get the idea there.
What steps can I take?
It happens every time I try and advance. Sorry. Okay, so one more, I believe this is one more FAQ. I'll show you this one as well.
Hi, I'm Neema Olenu, and I'm a DWI and criminal defense attorney practicing in the Collin County, Texas, and surrounding areas. Sometimes it's hard to know what to do when the police are at your door. Today, I'd like to discuss that with you. The police are at the door. Do I have to let them in? I'd like to discuss that with you guys today. The police are knocking at your door. Do you know what to do? Well, the answer depends on whether the officers have a.
Okay, so I wanted to show a few examples in varying specialties to give you, a good sense of those. But really, I think the answering common question videos, those are kind of the lowest barrier of entry. You can just, sit down at your computer. I even know some attorneys who have, a laptop in the corner of their office that's just kind of dedicated to this work. When they have a free 20 minutes, they just plop down in front of that computer, hit record, and answer a question maybe that they just received from a prospect or a client.
That's a great time to do it, Cara. And I will also say, I know when I first started doing videos that I needed everything written down in front of me. I was super nervous. I mean, it is really nice to use technology here to your advantage. There are teleprompter apps. If you want to go old school, you can write it out for yourself. You can have split screens or dual monitors that show you a script while you're looking at the camera. There are a lot of different technologies that you can use to make it easy for you, so you don't have to feel like, man, I was 3/4 of the way through that and then I coughed or goofed or whatever. Now, if you're working with James Marketing Amplifier, they're going to be able to edit things down for you. But if you're doing it in other ways, it can be a challenge to make sure you get it all right within one cut.
You're right. And I will say to that too, Maddie, some of those ums and ahs, it's okay to keep some of that in there, right?
Totally.
I mean, that's authentic. It's, actually kind of, makes you more human. So don't get too critical on making it perfect, right? You don't need to read line by line,
Totally
it'll become obvious. And also, the more you do it, like Maddie says, the more comfortable you'll get with it. So just start, you might fumble over the first few, but the best way to get more comfortable and just to get better at it, like anything, is to practice it. So I always try and encourage attorneys to just try, just do it.
I have, Cara, so one other little tip. So if there's something else that you like doing, whether it's like gardening or cooking or craft making or various things, if you just set up your phone to record video and you pretend you're on a cooking show or gardening show, or you have your own specialty YouTube channel on whatever, that's often a way to sort of get your head straight, because there can feel like a lot of pressure when it comes to your work and representing yourself, maybe as an attorney or other professional. It's way easier if you had a friend standing next to you asking you, how do you make your brownie recipe, right? So how do you plant fresh bulbs in the garden? Those are the sorts of things that you could do a fake video, get yourself more comfortable, and then go into the video you really want to record. You can do it when you're already engaging in that activity with very little effort. And it's really those things that, when you want to be in front of the camera, make you seem much more at ease and professional, like you've been doing it for a decade.
I love that. That's actually great advice. I love that idea. Yeah, that would definitely, again, it's about being in front of the camera. That's just can be a little bit awkward, right? So yeah,
Right.
that's a great approach. Okay, so let's talk about reducing calls from unqualified leads, right? So teaching prospects to sort of evaluate their legal situations in the same way that you would evaluate them. It's really, in my opinion, time well spent. And of course, videos are a good way to kind of accomplish this task. So use videos to describe who you've represented in the past and to briefly explain kind of those maybe minimum thresholds required for you to accept a case. So these minimums, you're almost creating a sense of exclusivity, right? You'll convey that you're selective in who you represent, and that exclusivity will actually increase the desire for your services, but it will also, of course, screen out those folks that you just can't help. So what do I mean by that? So some examples on the screen. By specialty. Let me run through these so that you get a sense of what I mean by this. So bankruptcy, perhaps, is it time for me to file? Business litigation, do I have a winning breach of contract claim? Estate planning, do I need an attorney to draft my estate plan? Family law, should I retain an attorney for my divorce? Personal injury, do I have a case? And Social Security disability, will I qualify for benefits? Okay, so let me show you an example again. So here's a sample video we recently shot to help one of our attorney subscribers kind of screen out her most qualified bankruptcy prospects. Let me play it for you now.
Hi, my name is Shereen Middleton, founder of Middleton Legal. My office is located in Greenbelt, Maryland. We get a lot of questions from clients about the timing and when they should file for bankruptcy. Today, we're going to talk about if your situation is bad enough to file for bankruptcy. When it comes to filing for bankruptcy, no one knows your situation better than yourself. If you are struggling financially and
so this type of video, of course, not only provides value to and educates the prospect, but again, helps you really kind of screen out those folks who are ready and need your services.
Hi, my name.
Hi, I'm Robin.
And here's one more very similar I want to show you too.
With Robin Law 2020. And I'd like to answer a couple of questions for you about estate planning. So the first one is, do I need an attorney to draft my estate plan? So I've had people ask me in the past, do I need an attorney to draft my estate plan? Legally, you don't need an attorney to draft your estate planning documents. Wills and trusts do not have to be prepared or even reviewed by an attorney for them to be valid. However, they must comply with legal standards. You need to decide for yourself.
Okay, so I hope that gives you some inspiration too. Okay, so how to begin? This is critical, right? So like we talked about earlier, this kind of forced shift by the pandemic to kind of lower the visual quality and really kind of the more casual settings, again, by so many, it's made these kind of self-shot videos highly and widely acceptable. So if you're not already regularly producing videos, this kind of pretty radical shift or this radical change in acceptable quality, it really levels the playing field. It really makes it easy to begin, kind of brings down that barrier of entry. Like I said, pull out your phone, sit down in front of your computer, hit record. The only additional equipment that we recommend is an external microphone. Good audio quality is important. You can get a good one. It doesn't need to be high end, doesn't need to be top of the line, but you can get a good one for $25-30 on Amazon. If you are going to shoot, yeah, there you go. Yep. If you're going to shoot with your smartphone, you could use a phone tripod, a stand would be helpful, but everyone is on Zoom these days. We're on Zoom right now, right? So viewing a kind of Zoom quality video or presentation, it's become acceptable for sort of all levels of information and actually the beauty of Zoom too, like we're doing right now, it just lets you record as well as share your screen. So theoretically, it's easy to kind of create a pretty compelling slide supported presentation, just like this one, in one take. So you could literally hit record, set up a Zoom session, hit record, share your screen, and boom, you're done. You wouldn't really need to do much editing past that. And don't feel that your presentation has to be error-free. Like Maddie and I were discussing earlier, the misstatement, the hesitation, the ah here and there. It's just makes you more approachable, makes you more human. So don't be too hard on yourself there. Don't waste time editing out those, those little missteps. And if you do prepare slides beforehand, you use PowerPoint or Google Slides or whatever, you can just share them during the recording. Again, you're hitting record in Zoom and create a finished video in one take. No editing will be needed. If you want your shoots edited, again, you could find a video editor on Upwork, on Fiverr, freelancer.com for pretty inexpensive. But, if you do want to kind of lift your video quality, you could invest in a quality webcam for $100. But again, it's just about getting started. Don't you think, Maddie?
I definitely think so. And I would also and for those of you who have come to these seminars before, I'm sort of a broken record on this, but I was an econ major, I think, in terms of opportunity cost. And what Cara is saying, think about it in terms of if you weren't trying to DIY your own video editing, unless you're really a whiz at it and that was your schooling or your passionate hobby, most of us cannot be as efficient as a video editor who does it full time, James publishing staff, et cetera. And as a result, we are spending our time, which could be better and only applied to other things. Whereas your hour on video editing is someone else's 10 minutes. That starts to make you think I'd really rather spend a little bit of money there so that my hour, which could be a billable hour, is much better applied to my bottom line, right? So you are a resource that you can distribute in a number of ways for your business. And is that the best and highest use of your time? By and large, it's not, unless that's something that you have a passion for, a strong skill in, or you have a business case for building up your skill there that you think, I'm getting into video as a business. By all means, go do it. But otherwise, most of the time, it's better to outsource it.
Couldn't agree more. Yep, couldn't agree more. So we're going to touch just pretty briefly on some primary promotion channels. I don't want to go too deep into this, but I do want to provide just some easy ways of kind of getting your videos out there. Because kind of creating the steady flow videos, that's certainly most of the work, but you still need to publish and promote them a bit. Primary promotion channels in this way, certainly add everything to your website, of course. You can embed them in emails, social media, YouTube. But we suggest, to Maddie's point, we really suggest that you focus on creating the videos, as far as just shooting the videos, and try and delegate the publishing, the posting, the editing, anything else that you can kind of delegate. So let's briefly just talk about each of these. So when we talk about increasing viewership, so think about it with books, movies, the cover frequently determines whether a reader or a viewer will actually take a closer look, right? So write a headline that's directed at the prospective viewer's interests. You'll see on the slide. Do you have a winning case? Is your appeal likely to succeed? Maybe how to reduce the chaos in your divorce, how to restore your credit after bankruptcy, mistakes frequently made by self-represented claimants, common shortcomings in your internet estate plan. So, just know too that video optimization, it's really sort of part science, part art. It's really not for novices. So we recommend you engage an experienced freelancer or marketing agency if you want to really optimize these videos. But regardless of where you post your videos, attracting viewers, of course, is important. So just remember, engaging first slide can really help with this. Design an attractive cover, use a compelling, maybe sort of benefit-oriented description or headline, and add some supporting bullets. So obviously you need to add all of these videos to your site. That's sort of a no-brainer, right? Their videos are truly more effective at building trust, distinguishing yourself from the competition than anything else you can place on your website. So videos are, of course, a wonderful addition to the site. And like I mentioned earlier, videos, they've become mandatory. They're a critical sort of mandatory component of your legal website. And honestly, most legal websites don't include video. And if they do, maybe it's one or two kind of about the firm videos. Very rarely is it this kind of growing collection of frequently asked question videos or past case videos. But think about with most website views now happening on mobile devices on your phone, videos have really become more effective, the more effective form of communication, right? So mobile visitors, they're just simply less likely to read through lengthy text on their phones, right? But they'll certainly watch videos all day long on their phones. So keep that in mind. And we suggest, do you have a case video as kind of if you're just make that your first video, right? You can place that on the top of your website or, wherever is an appropriate kind of, high profile place to place that video. But that content, it will qualify your leads as well as, simultaneously really demonstrate your expertise, build trust, distinguish yourself, again, broken record. But, after that more broad scope video, the, do I have a case video? Then we recommend starting with a collection of more tightly focused videos on past cases, varying fact patterns, answering common questions, so on. So website, number one place to place those videos. Emails, certainly adding video to your emails is extremely effective. And it's just a fact that emails with video links have higher open and click-through rates than text-only emails, So your nurturing series of emails for prospects, for instance, should include your videos. Same with any replies you send to interested prospects. If you put video, whatever the headline of the video is in your subject line, open rates will climb, unsubscribes will decline. So also add a video link in your signature line, right? You send a lot of emails, really add these videos anywhere that you can. And, just know that video will dramatically increase the effectiveness of your emails. Not only kind of email marketing, but your everyday, even kind of transactional emails. Okay, social media. I mean, your social media profiles, they're obviously a natural place to promote your videos. Videos are so well suited for social. But at the same time, I know only a percentage of lawyers have social profiles. Many of them are inactive. So I won't spend too much time on this promotional channel, but just know if you have those accounts, if you have those profiles, absolutely share your videos widely on those accounts. And our two sort of favorite social media platforms for lawyers, where we think you get the most bang for your buck initially, is Facebook and LinkedIn. LinkedIn more of a networking play, but if you have followers on Twitter, on Instagram, of course, those should be included to use those. If you have followers, definitely add video to the mix of your content. It creates nice variation and your engagement will definitely improve. Okay, so YouTube, obviously you need to add your videos to YouTube. If you're going to regularly produce video content, which of course we highly recommend, definitely add a YouTube channel. And if you place your videos in only two locations, it should be your website and YouTube. Some lawyers have made YouTube their primary promotion avenue. One of the early kind of YouTube video pioneers is New York MedMal lawyer Gary Oginski. He's detailed dozens of his past cases on videos. He has a huge following, but as you might know, YouTube is second only to Google in search volume. So it's a logical home kind of outside your website for your videos. And since you're likely to host your website's videos on YouTube, it just makes sense to kind of own and create a dedicated YouTube channel to publicize it. So ideally you'll get on some sort of regular video publication schedule so that you can ask viewers to subscribe to your channel and they'll be notified whenever any new videos are added. So in wrapping up, I just wanted to mention super briefly that we do have a done-for-you solution, our marketing amplifier. It's a pretty comprehensive program. It includes the monthly custom videos, loads, massive libraries of content, branded consumer content, follow-up emails for every phase of the client life cycle. We also include social, we push all of your content to social media. We add everything to your website. And we also include a monthly newsletter. So it's quite comprehensive. And we do record the videos over Zoom, which is how we keep our shoots efficient, and it's how we keep them affordable. And we of course eliminate the travel. So we're just talking about a monthly 30-minute shoot. Very little preparation is needed on your end. All you have to do is show up, and we really kind of handle everything else for you. So you'll see my direct contact info there. Feel free to reach out for any reason, really. And I love talking about marketing and all this stuff. But I'll pass it over to Maddie because I'm sure we have some questions. I haven't been monitoring it very well.
No. I mean, I think that we've answered some of the things in the chat. We talked about a good mic. There's a lavalier mic too. If you want to pin it to you, the closer to your mouth, and the better the quality, obviously that's going to create better videos. And one of the reasons why people would turn off a video is because the sound quality is bad, for example. So that's something that obviously you could work with, James Marketing Amplifier on, but that is something that you also want help on. Don't just rely on your own sort of ears, your own eyes. It's great to get validation from any, third party or friend. Obviously, if you have an expert, even better. The other thing that I would share, just from the Smith.ai perspective, is like, if you're thinking about, we had a comment here, what are the other topics? If I've got this YouTube channel going, I feel like I need to feed that beast really often. And I've got these videos going with a specific purpose. Maybe it's in an email, in a newsletter, on my website. I'm checking all these boxes. I've got this routine, but then I'm sort of running out of FAQ, right? Like, how do I keep this going? I want to do this every single week, at least every month, etc. One of the things that you can do is you can take the chat transcripts from the new lead inquiries on your website where people are reaching out to you, from Facebook Messenger, from the text messages that you might be getting from new potential clients, and sort of use an assistant, someone to go through all those, drop them into a spreadsheet, sort of unduplicate them, and turn video topics out of that content. So let's say that people are commonly asking, are you taking new clients? How long does it take to work this type of case? Should I go with you or should I do it myself, and why? There are a lot of things that people might ask about with respect to divorce and children or property ownership and the process there. You can go as deep and as nitty gritty as you see as relevant for your clients, right? For those potential clients. And the chat transcripts we have found are really rich with the exact language that people are going to use, that they have used in the past in an online chat, to go into Google, to go into YouTube and find more information about that. They're looking to multiple sources. They might come across you multiple times, but it is a great way to not come up with what language you think they're going to use, or start with just one or two keywords and build a question around that, but start with exactly the question that they already came to your website to ask. You don't have to come up with a whole lot when you have a treasure trove of questions waiting there for you.
Absolutely. That's great.
So Cara, thank you so much for joining us today. I will send out the recording. We will have the information to contact you in that email. We will provide it in the show notes when we post this to YouTube. And just wanted to, thank you so much for your time. And we always appreciate your advice. It is just dead on. So thanks for being here today. And everyone have a wonderful weekend. If there's any questions, feel free to contact Cara or myself.
Thanks so much for having me, Maddie. Have a good one, everyone. Thanks.
Take care. Bye.